Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I'm an expert in being myself. I love sharing my thoughts, opinions, perspectives, expertise in being myself, my experiences specifically, but one size definitely does not fit all. So just because I say it doesn't mean that it fits your life, or you may have to contextualize it a bit, because we're all different. And I'm very different. I have taken a very non-traditional approach to my so-called career, because I'm not even sure you could call it that. I'm certainly not doing what I used to be doing, though I'm still kind of doing what I used to do, but I've always changed what it was that I've done. One thing has remained constant from the very beginnings of Locker Gnome back in 1996, when it was just me, before I had a team, and then even after I had the team. One thing was true. I was working from home. In a day and age, way back when working from home was virtually unheard of. Heck, even maybe 5 years ago, working from home. But over the past year or so, working from home is quickly becoming, excitedly so, the norm. I am a huge proponent for working from home if, and only if, your job can support it. That is to say, you can effectively work from home. That you don't have to travel to an office to get your work done. That you can take meetings online. Or, shock, maybe a phone call could have been an email. I know, what am I thinking? I don't know what's going on. So I thought tonight for some advice, I would share with you my tips and tricks and suggestions to find success when working from home if you have an option. Now, the first thing I would recommend, especially if you're interested in working from home, is find out if it's an option. Even if it hasn't been, find out if it's an option, because they may be wanting to pilot something you don't know. Or, before you go in to get a job in the interview process, you may want to qualify that. Do you allow working from home, especially if your previous job, similar role, supported that? Because that may very well tell you whether or not you want to join that company. Because to me, working from home is every bit of benefit as, I don't know, I guess, a water fountain in a public restroom in a building. Every company's different. But what I'm saying is that you have an option to choose when you get a new job. That should be under your control, especially if you're not happy with where you are. But even if you are happy with where you are, maybe where you are doesn't necessarily support work from home, and that's something that you feel is going to become critical for you. Because I'm telling you, once you start working from home and you find that you like it, having to go back to a traditional office environment, a work environment, may not be all it's cracked up to be. Now, some people absolutely miss that. Some people absolutely need that. They need the structured environment. They need to be free from distractions. They need that. I was effectively institutionalized the other direction. I could not function in an environment where I could not set my own schedule, where I could not set my own pace. So, if you're interested in working from home, I say find a place that supports it when or if you have the opportunity. Now, when you are working from home, how do you get stuff done? Because there's constant distractions. Well, the first thing I would recommend is, especially if you live with other people, set boundaries. A lot of people didn't do that, right? And you need to explain to your partner or your children or whoever, look, when I'm in here, this room, this space, that means I'm working. When I'm doing something here, that means I'm engaged. And so that is my priority. When I leave the room and I'm ready to interact, then I will let you know, okay? But right here, I got to get my stuff done because there are people who depend on me here. You can't see them, but I still have to take care of my responsibilities. So setting boundaries is incredibly important. You know, and if you don't do that, you're going to find that the distractions are just going to, because people don't know what you're doing in here, wherever that space is, because ancillary to that suggestion, you got to set up a dedicated space. So like, hey, when I'm in this chair, I need you out there. I just made up that rhyme, but you know, use it. Pretend it was yours, and then your family will be like, wow, they're skilled with words, man. They're like a poet, you know, with their language. Boy, I totally lost the script on that one, didn't I? So setting boundaries, setting up a dedicated space. If this is not the third or fourth suggestion that I want to lay down, is make sure you communicate clearly. If you can't communicate clearly with other people, then you're going to struggle everywhere. But certainly in an environment where collaborative software is the norm. So you got to get comfortable with whatever your company's collaborative software is. And if they don't have collaborative software, wow. I don't know how you function in your role, because it's critical to communicate, not just to your colleagues and your coworkers, but to your manager and management, to stay in touch and to stay organized together, to stay on track together. And different companies have different ways of task management and project management and product management and all sorts of management. But collaborative software is the foundation. So if your company, depending how big or small, doesn't have collaborative software, if it's small enough, you might be able to recommend something that would streamline communications. But then it's just as important for you to use it. Doesn't mean you have to be available to everybody all the time. Just because someone sends you a message doesn't mean you have to reply right away. Feel that you can let it stew for a while, right? When someone sends a message, you got to pay attention to what you need to do. Prioritize. Another tip. And that means when a distraction comes in or walks in, look, I'll deal with that when I can. Right now I'm in the middle of something. But you've got to be able to prioritize your tasks and prioritize your responsibilities. Because if you don't, time is going to get away from you. And when time gets away from you, your tasks get away from you. And the people who rely on you are going to be like, well, what's going on? So if you don't have a way of managing tasks, figure it out. Whether that's sticky notes, whether that's an application, whatever you use to stay on top of the things that you need to do it. Me, personally, I use a system between notes and my email and other parts of the collaborative software that I use. So I have my own little system worked out. So it works for me, so I can always stay on top of stuff to make sure I have things ready when they need to be ready, and everything's planned out. So being able to stay organized may be difficult for you, and I can understand why you may want to be in a different environment if you find that challenging. But certainly, if you're trying to work from home and you're not organized, it's going to be difficult. Because not being organized may also mean that you won't be able to communicate effectively where you may be on something or what you might need with something. So when I say communication, there have been times where I've hit a roadblock. And instead of waiting, because it may be a critical task, instead of waiting for the next meeting that may be coming up in another week, I message. I'm like, look, here's the roadblock. Here's what's going on. Here's what I need to know. Here's how you can help, right? You make an ask. And then you hope, whenever they get back to you, you've got a response. So then you can continue about your task. See, that's a part of communication. You communicate your roadblock, wherever you're stopped, your wall. Remember we talked about this the other day? You communicate it immediately. Don't sit on it. If it's a task that's not important, not critical, that you can wait on, you want to ask questions about, you can wait until there's a meeting. But if it's something that you need to communicate, don't hold back. At the same time, don't overwhelm them. Someone you might be messaging with a wall of stuff. You can't necessarily do that. That's better left for meetings, right? Take care. You can't. I have this problem sometimes even with Diana, where I'll have like 5 different questions. Like, okay, this I've got a question about, and this, and I got a question about this, because in my mind I've already prioritized, I've already organized, and I'm trying to get questions to answers to questions that I have from her, because that dictates how I'm going to spend my time, how I'm going to, if a task is complete or if it needs help to be pushed through. I've even come to the point where, and I loosely proposed this to Diana, asking if we could do like weekly family meetings. So instead of overwhelming her piecemeal, I can save some of the stuff up and just once a week. Okay, these are the questions that I have. Like, and then, okay, do we have a deadline on these things? This needs to happen before this happens. So who's responsible for it? Is it going to be done by next week? Great. I won't ask about it until next week. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta, it's a balance, but it is possible. And it certainly is relevant when you are working from home. And in many ways, being in a relationship is kind of like working from home. It takes work, and communication is certainly something that's just as valid with your partner. Another thing I recommend is taking breaks. So this is something you think, oh, of course, Chris. If you get so caught up in your work, and I understand it's very important, you got to plow through a document, you got to plow through something, you got to get it done, take care of it, right? But when you get to the point where you're feeling fatigued, and I don't just mean tired, we all get tired. But I mean like burnt, and you're spinning, and you're like, mentally you just can't push yourself any further. Don't. Seriously, don't. Get up, go to the kitchen, get a glass of water, maybe take a walk around the block, maybe drive around, do some errands. That honestly, that's my schedule. My personal schedule has been that way for years. I got my routine generally. I plow through a lot of things in the morning, the things that I know are going to be critical for the rest of the day, setting stage for success for the rest of the day. When I'm feeling like, okay, I can't push myself further, I got to take a break. Come back, do more stuff, meetings, all in between and around. But still, taking that break is critical, not just for your physical well-being, but your mental well-being. And people forget. You get so caught up in this that you forget. You need to take breaks. And if you have a problem taking breaks, set a reminder. Okay, I'm going to work for the next 60 minutes. And then I'm going to okay, my alarm's gone out. I'm going to make myself some tea. Force yourself to do it. Because you need to. And when you're getting up and around, again, you got to make sure you hydrate. That's important no matter what. And maybe grab something to eat. You may have forgotten meals. So another thing that kind of dovetails into that, setting a reminder, is potentially have structure. Even though it's loosey-goosey, setting a structure for yourself may make it, well, not corporate, but may make it feel more business-like. You're getting work done. Now, I've never had an issue with that because I've always worked from home. I've always worked remotely. I've always managed to do things without physically being around people. Managing people, managing responsibilities, being managed by, never had a problem. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have found somewhere that has accepted that, because I've been able to output, right? I've been able to do my job and do it effectively. I could not do it more effectively if I was in an office environment. In fact, I would argue I would be doing it less effectively if I did not have better control over certain variables. Just because that's how I was built. That's how I was constructed. You tell me I need to do something, I'm going to do it. But that's my responsibility. So hopefully these suggestions have helped somewhat. If you're looking for, I probably missed a few other things that I do or that I've found so that I could be successful. Some suggestions, I'm sure I could go on and on about this. I kind of have. But other people may very well have other work from home suggestions. This is something I'm very experienced in, and I know some people have been struggling. I probably should have done this video, a year ago? 2 years ago? Oh well, better late than never, and thank you for listening. Any other advice for working from home, feel free to leave a comment, and thanks for liking the video, watching it all the way through, potentially sending to somebody. And if you want any more advice from me about one thing or another you might want advice, or want my advice for, let me know. I'm here for you.